Welcome, everybody, for our second episode of Midweek Mania. I'm your host, B. Mad Dog, and this is my co-host.
Hey, it's Teran Rodriguez here, co-host of the show. Happy to be on for episode 2 of Midweek Mania. Pleased to have everyone here tuning in.
All right, and we got a big MLB matchup for you. One of the hardest teams in baseball, besides my own, of course, is in the National League, the Milwaukee Brewers. They are hosting this weekend one of the franchises that should be competing with the Dodgers on the likes of the National League the past 5 years. The New York Mets, 3 games back from the National League East Division. We have our two hosts tonight. One is joining via satellite. Dan, the diehard Vitalik. He's more than just a Christmas movie. He's our insider of IESR Wisconsin. He's here in spirit. And we're going to introduce you when we get back from our commercial break, the Rickinator, our IESR New York insider, and our host of our hit weekend series, the Primetime Preview. Thank you guys very much for tuning in, and we'll see you right after our words from our lovely sponsors. Woo!
We will see.
IE Sports Radio fans, this show is brought to you by Planet Jerky Premium Brisket Beef Jerky. Planet Jerky is the official jerky of the 2022 California League champion Lake Elsinore Storm, single-A affiliate of the San Diego Padres. This all-brisket jerky has gluten-free options, contains no MSG, no sodium nitrate, is low in sugar, and high in protein. Go to their website at planetjerky.net and follow them on Instagram at Planet Jerky. Planet Jerky, the jerky that's on a whole other planet.
Rise and shine. It's 4 a.m. The stars are still out. The sun is beneath the horizon, but it's time to punch in and go to work. The comfort of your warm-ups turns into the grinding out of your reps as the clinking and the clinking of the plates create a symphony of euphoria. There's no other feeling like it. Earn it, burn it, and take what's yours. IE Sports Radio has proudly partnered with Vital Apparel, a brand that not only fits great, but also promotes and donates to mental health research. Use our code IESR to get 15% off their comfortable and inspiring gym wear and help them on their amazing journey to support mental health. Go hard, take part in your iron therapy, and be strong. Because when your mental health is as strong as you are, there's no telling how far you'll go.
All right, everyone. Thank you for our lovely sponsors today. They make what IES Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that sports. Thank you to Planet Jerky, Premium Brisket Beef Jerky, and thank you for Vital Apparel. But before we introduce our guest panelists today, I would like to promote our network where you can follow us. Follow us at X, TikTok, and YouTube at capital IE Sports Radio, and our website with blog, iesportsradio.com. You want to explain more, Teran?
Yeah, and definitely do subscribe to us on YouTube. We would greatly appreciate it. We're trying to reach 500 subscribers, and with your help, we could definitely make it happen. So please spread the word about helping IE Sports Radio get to that mark. And we thank everyone for all of your support and for making IE Sports Radio your direct feed for all that sports. Make sure to check out our website as well. You won't be disappointed.
Absolutely, Teran. Thank you very much. Now it is time to introduce one of our special guests, panelist insiders representing the New York Mets of IESI New York. Please welcome the host of the Primetime Preview and one of the co-hosts of the Bullpen Bulletin, the Rickinator, Ricky K.
What's going on, guys? How we doing?
I am so amped. You have no idea. It's our second episode. We got one of you here and the other insider in spirit representing IESR Wisconsin, the Brewers insider, Dan the diehard Vakalik. But before we start, Ricky, would you like to explain to the audience what you do?
So, as you said, I co-host the Bullpen Bulletin with Mike Pat, Alden K every Tuesday, 9 p.m. Eastern here on the network. We also host Primetime Preview every Friday at 6 p.m. Eastern, but that's only for the rest of August. You're going to have to tune into the show Friday for a special announcement on going forward in the fall, where you will find me. I don't want to reveal that on here. I'll save that for me. But you can follow me on X at Rickinator555. That's at RICK, letter I, Nader like Terminator, and 3 5s. Follow the New York account at IESR_New York, Mets, Yankees, all that fun stuff.
And all right, before we get started on our face-offs, let's check to the comment section. Our CEO, Larry B, saying, let's go. Thank you, Larry. And Josh Ritter, one of our various insiders, represent a bunch of teams. Yo, Brian and Teran. Salute, Josh. Thanks for all you do. And he also wrote, Sox are nipping on my Jays' heels. Yes, we are. We're only 3 games back, but we're not here to talk about the Sox tonight. Maybe we'll mention them a little bit, but our series, game of the week, our face-off, is the Mets at the Brewers. You got a big weekend of action. I cannot wait. And now it's time, before I get to the bell right, we are going to round 1, folks. And wait for it. It is now time for face-off. Let's go, Ricky. What is your X factors for this series?
So my X factors for this series, I'm going to go with the Mets bullpen because, to be honest, right now the Mets rotation isn't giving them much of anything in terms of length. You're not seeing Kodai Senga, who starts tomorrow, going that deep into games. Sean Manaea has just come back from an injury, but right before the All-Star break, he's starting to ramp up. He's going to go on Sunday. The Mets don't have a starter right now to be announced for Saturday. It'd be real interesting if they went with one of the Noah McLeans of the world. I don't think they'll go that direction. They've tended to go more openers in that spot. So they're going to need a lot from their bullpen. They did revamp it. Gregory Soto from the Orioles, Tyler Rogers from the Giants, Ryan Helsley, which I think is going to be fantastic, the 1-2 combo with him and Edwin Diaz at the back of the bullpen. But they're going to need a lot of outs from those guys because right now the offense isn't exactly clicking. Mets are coming out of the series losing 8 of their last 9. So they desperately need a wake-up. Carlos Mendoza kind of gave them one today, and we can get into that a little bit later. But I think the bullpen, especially against a Brewers team that also has a really good bullpen, I think whichever team wins the bullpen battle wins this series.
Absolutely. And you got phenomenal pitching. The Brewers are one of the best pitchers in starting pitching rotation. A lot of rookies there. And you got Juan Soto going to the Mets, who got paid a whole lot, and he hasn't been able to help Polar Bear and Lindor carry the slack for this Mets bad. And they still got a lot of phenomenal players, but they definitely, it's a big test for both these teams as the Brewers are on a roll as well. And
yeah, that's the problem with the Mets right now. Since the All-Star break, Lindor is not hitting. Soto is not really hitting. He hit the home run today off Gavin Williams to save what would have been a no-hitter in the last game of the homestand. Brandon Nimmo's not hitting. Pete Alonso's not hitting. And this Met team tends to go as what they call the new core, the Fab Four. If those Fab Four aren't hitting, this lineup isn't going to hit. So you're right. They need mainly Lindor. If you look at his numbers when the Mets win, Lindor usually is doing something very productive. When he goes like 0 for, they usually lose.
Yeah, thank you, Ricky. And we're going to get our insider's thought, Wisconsin thought, Dan Diehard Vakalik, right after this.
So who are the X factors for this series? Could I just take the easy route and go the entire Brewers offense and pitching? I won't. So I'll pick 3 guys. I'll pick 1 starting pitcher. I'm going to pick Quinn Priester as an X factor. He's been stellar. Absolutely just dominating teams. Yeah, he had a hiccup his last outing, first first inning with 1 run allowed, but then, just shut down the team the rest of his outing. Has been fantastic since acquiring him. Basically a no-name, like what the Brewers are really living off of. I have 2 on offense that are pretty important. Isaac Collins and Andrew Vaughn. Isaac Collins is the Rookie of the Month last month in July, and he continued in this month against the Braves and just on a tear on offense. He's just does it all. He has home run power. He could get on base, infield hits, base running, defense. He's just been doing it all, and they really need players to step up without Jack Citation available. He's still out 2 to 4 weeks. And then Andrew Vaughn, another guy who we got in the Andrew Savale trade with the White Sox. He started at AAA, wasn't, the best down there, but he's came up and just been on an absolute tear. RBI machine, had a grand slam a couple series ago. Those guys, they get rolling. This offense is going to score some runs. And then Quinn Priester on Sunday, he continues what he's been doing. I can't see the Brewers losing this series, and I think it just really comes down to the team playing the same type of baseball that they've been playing.
All right. Thank you, Dan. If you are finding a way to watch, thank you very much. You find a way to multitask both at once. But now let's go on to round 2, the fire round. What do you feel your team, Ricky for the Mets, obviously, Dan will be for the Brewers, can take advantage of the other team to go in the benefit of the opposition?
I would say for me, it's the ability for the Met pitching to somewhat contain the Brewers offense. You just heard Dan mention Jackson Chourio is not in that lineup, and that's a guy who's a big factor at the top of the order for them. Now, they've got a lot of – the Brewers, I think, do a really good job, and Pat Murphy does this of a team collective effort. I don't think they rely on one guy necessarily to be the strength of their team. But considering you're seeing Woodruff and Henderson and Priester, I can't really say that the Mets are going to go against the pitching. So I'll say it's going to have to be the Mets pitching going up against Milwaukee's offense and try to at least limit the damage. And maybe this offense, which struggles at men's scoring, maybe finds a way to get a home run or two and maybe level the playing field a little bit. So I will say the Met starting pitching against the Brewers offense.
That is definitely a good one. Do you have anything to say, Ricky, before we go on to Dan's second question?
So I think to Dan's point on the first one, I really like what Priester's doing for them. I think he's been a really solid player. So the Mets actually Saturday it's going to be Frankie Montas, but we don't know what Frankie Montas is going to be. Is he going to be an opener? Is he going to be a starter? Montas was awful. I was actually at the game Sunday, and I wasn't surprised he's been awful. So we'll see what the Mets do. But in terms of the Brewers, I think Priester is really intriguing to me is because people talk about that Milwaukee didn't make a move at the deadline. They made a move. It just was 2 months before the deadline. Like they did a lot of their work early and kind of went throughout in the back end. So this is actually a fun series too because it's the wild card matchup from last year, and I'm sure Brewers fans are going to want revenge for what the Mets did to Devin Williams in Game 3 of that wild card series last year.
Absolutely, and they also have a lot of Christian Yelich has been carrying that Brewers team for a huge winning streak and is a designated hitter, so he doesn't really need to see the field that much because he carries it with his bat pretty good. All right, and now we'll go on to Dan's response.
What do you feel the Brewers could take advantage of the Mets to use to their benefit? Well, there's a couple things that the Brewers have been doing extremely well this year is infield hits, which they lead the majors in, base running, which according to StatCast measurements, they're the best in the league, and then stolen bases as well. Only the Rays have stolen more bases than the Brewers. So just the small ball stuff is definitely an advantage for the Brewers. The other thing the Brewers could take advantage of is Frankie Montas has not been good this year, has an over 6 ERA. Sean Manaea, he's only pitched in 4 games this year, and those are going to be 2 starters the Brewers are going to face. Obviously, Manaea has been pretty good in his 4 games, 3.5 ERA, under 1 WHIP. But those 2 guys, I think the Brewers could take advantage of. Obviously, Senga, their ace, is going to be a little tougher. Definitely going to have to do small ball, take advantage of the infield hits. Once you get on base, you're going to have to use smart base running, which the Brewers have all been very good with all season long. They can string together hits. They can move players around bases and everything, and just get either scoring position, make it tough on the infield. They have fast guys, a lot of speed. Make it tough on a pitching staff as well. When your guys, if you allow a base runner, it's pretty good odds that they're going to advance to second and third. They could advance to third on just a blooper into the outfield. Brewers have been excellent base running, so that's really an advantage that the Brewers are going to have to take, especially against Senga. And then Montez and Manaea, I believe the Brewers could get some hits on, and then get into the Mets bullpen. I think that will be an advantage as well, and try to just rely on the Brewers pitching staff as well, because they don't allow a lot of runs overall. Woodruff, Henderson, and Priester are the starters. They're all very, very solid. They've all been good this year. Henderson's been great in his spot starts this season. Priester's been on a roll. Woodruff, since he's came back from injury, has been very good and effective as well. So, they have to rely on a lot of small ball and a lot of little things just to win, and I think that's the biggest advantage for the Brewers.
All right, everybody. Before we bring Ricky back out, we are going to take another commercial break, and then I have a big announcement that we'll have our future programming, including a big series coming up in Midweek Mania. Enjoy, stay tuned, and enjoy Midweek Mania of IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that sports. Woo!
Hey there, IE Sports Radio fans. Be sure to check out our sponsor, Seal the Deal Wax Seals by Cecilia B. You just finished your very own wedding or baby shower invitations and you're looking for that extra special touch? Maybe you just wrote a letter to a relative or a friend and you want to add to their smile when they receive it. Then seal the deal with Cecilia's handmade sealing wax stamps for your invitations, letters, and gifts. You bring the deal, we'll bring the seal. You can find them on Instagram at sealthedeal_wax stamps and on Facebook, Seal the Deal Wax Seals.
For the last 10 years, IE Sports Radio has been bringing you amazing content ranging from interviewing legendary athletes, coaches, and other authorized media personnel to building tailor-made shows dedicated to all major sports cities around the country. Make sure to follow us at IE Sports Radio on X, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, and YouTube to keep up with the latest in sports and with all of our shows. Also, make sure to check out our daily updated website at iesportsradio.com. At iesportsradio.com, you can see our daily show schedule and check out all of our show pages with personal bios to learn a little bit more about each of our awesome hosts. In addition to our show pages, you can catch the IE Sports Radio blog, Hall of Fame, Fans of the Month page, and our merchandise shop, including t-shirts, tank tops, caps, long sleeves, hoodies, and more. For now over a decade here at IE Sports Radio, we've continued to be by the fans, for the fans, and we thank you all for your support and for making IE Sports Radio your direct feed for all that is sports.
All right. Thank you very much for our remaining sponsors, Seal the Deal Wax Seals. In case you're getting ready for engagement party, a bridal shower, and graduations have all passed, obviously, since we're late in the summer. So check out Seal the Deal Wax Seal. And most importantly, your direct feed for all that sports, IE Sports Radio. Follow us on TikTok, YouTube, and Instagram. We got all these good things going on. We got a lot of shorts with our various insiders, such as Ricky and Dan, as you've been seeing, especially with the NFL season popping up. But here is our update for programming for the next 2 weeks, coming at you live right here, right now. We got next week is to be announced whether we do a special or there's a lot of matchups next week, such as Mets versus Mariners, Padres versus Dodgers. Which one are we going to have? We're working it out behind the scenes. And in 2 weeks from tonight, I will, of course, I'm a co-host of this show, but I will be taking a back seat to all the stages, and I will be representing the red-hot Boston Red Sox, who won 6 in a row, as I take on the hated rival, represented by one of our other New York insiders, Joey Jets. I can't believe I'm saying the Jets with enthusiasm, but he's a great insider. In 2 weeks, we will be Red Sox Yankees, the greatest rivalry in all MLB and all baseball. And hopefully, starting the 27th, we can get some NFL kickoff games going. Then we'll try to mix in some matchups, whether it's MLB as we head to postseason play, NFL starting soon, and some big college football matchups after week 0. Hopefully we can get some of those as well. The world of unpredictability is coming through us as we be patient as we work with all the fun details coming soon. And thank you all for tuning in. Before I bring Ricky back up, let's go into the comment section, shall we? All right. By then, the Yankees might be out of it. Ooh. Come on, you're trying to get me to be a bias. I'm not supposed to be biased, so maybe I am. Maybe I'm not. I don't know. But
well, Josh is a Jays fan. You got to remember that as well.
Oh, yeah. He's all happy right now, and I still have to say you're welcome for every time we talk hockey because he's a diehard Panthers fan, especially when we traded for Marchand. But let's bring the Rickinator back out, shall we, folks? All right, Ricky, you having fun so far?
So far, so good. I'm loving the format and look forward to keeping these rounds up.
All right. And before this is our lightning round, and now we'll get the bell going, and we will be back now. All right, go ahead, Ricky. What is your game plan for the Mets, and what do they need to do to win this series?
Well, earlier I teased something that Carlos Mendoza talked about today that I'm hoping the Mets decide to implement this weekend. I know it's not getting rid of Eric Chavez, the hitting coach. He actually was very candid for a manager of a team struggling because we're used to seeing managers just saying, oh, we'll get him tomorrow. We got to play better, yada, 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 very generic coach speak. Mendoza today was talking about how the Mets need to do a much better job of adjusting in-game to pitchers. So, like, if Gab Williams today was good the first time through the order, why are they not making the adjustments the second time through or the third time through? And you look at a Milwaukee Brewer team that Brandon Woodruff's going to go deep into games, but can you get Henderson and Priester that second time through once you see them and get into that bullpen? Be a little more aggressive. Can the Mets actually, instead of trying to draw walks, look to attack first couple pitches? Try to maybe take advantage of an early mistake. Maybe they try to steal a couple bases. So to me, it's the Mets having to change a little bit of what they do. They were a team early in the year that kind of had an all-around offense. Now it's really just been 4 guys because Vientos has been disappointing. Marte's been coming back from injury but disappointing. Beatty's been up and down. Alvarez has been up and down. So to me, it's going to be maybe changing some things up and trying to manufacture, force some things and trying to make it where they're not just a one-dimensional team. So to me, if I'm the Mets, I'm changing everything up as much as I can and trying to create offense rather than wait for the offense to come to me.
All right, Ricky, thank you for the answer. And like Dan said in round 2, the Brewers are one of the league leaders in the National League in stolen bases, especially Teran leads the team in 20 stolen bases. So they got to be careful when they try to pitch to a batter because some guy can easily sneak up and steal a base. So,
yeah, absolutely.
So let's see Dan's thoughts, shall we?
So what's the game plan for the Brewers? And I'm going to sound like a broken record. I'm sure Pat Murphy has sounded like a broken record as well. But they just have to keep doing what they're doing. Rely on their pitching, small ball, and stringing some hits together. What's impressive is after these hit barrage that the Brewers did against the Nationals this past weekend, on Monday against the Braves, the Brewers only had 3 or 4 hits, yet got the victory with a 3-run home run by the reigning NL Rookie of the Month, Isaac Collins. And just doing that, being able to score when the opportunity presents itself, keep getting players on base, take advantage of a couple hits. And the pitching has been locked down from the bullpen all the way to the starters, to the closer. McGill's been the best closer in baseball this season. The rest of the staff has been outstanding. The bullpen with Ashby, you have DL Hall. Just everybody in the bullpen has been great. The game plan for the Brewers, though, really comes down to just keep doing what you've been doing. Pat Murphy had just came out and said, don't slow down. You have 49 games left, and you might have some bumps and bruises on the way, but just keep doing what you've been doing. Don't slow down. Don't overthink anything. Don't try to break down the process on what's this, what's that. Don't do any of that, and just keep going the path that you've been going. Top to bottom, the Brewers have just been outstanding everywhere with just no names. Bryce Terang, Blake Perkins, you have Isaac Collins. Just up and down. Andrew Monasterio, Andrew Vaughn even. Everyone just top to bottom. Sal Frelick. You just have a bunch of no names coming in, and they've been stringing along hits, doing small ball, getting on base. That's what the Brewers have to do to win this series.
All right, thank you, Dan, for all your thoughts. And we've been through 3 rounds so far. But before we move into one of our final 2 rounds, I forgot to say this and explain details, but as you know, I am the IESR New England Insider, and you can follow me at BMadDog_617 and at IESR for the professional _New England for all Patriots, Bruins, Celtics, Red Sox, and BC, and some college updates. And where can we find you, Teran?
You can find me on X, formerly known as Twitter, at Teran Rodriguez1, Teran, and then Rodriguez with a G, and then the number 1. Then you can also follow my other content at IESR_SoCal, and you can follow me at set_point.ie on X for my volleyball stuff. And you can also follow me on Instagram at set_point.iesr as well. So that's where you can follow my volleyball content on IE Sports Radio too.
Awesome. Thank you, Teran. And before we go into round 4, this is the talk about the projected pitcher for this weekend's game is for the Mets on Friday night. Cody Sangia, who's 7-3, takes on Brendan Woodruff, who's 3-0 so far. Saturday, like Ricky said, the Mets don't know who they're pitching Saturday, but they got Logan Henderson is coming back 3-0 as well, like Woodruff on Saturday. And this is going to be an advantage for the Brewers on Sunday. You got Quinn Priester, who has a 3.15 ERA, and he's 11-2 and a candidate for the Cy Young Award in the National League, taking on Sean Manaea, who's 1-1 with a 3.52 ERA. So some matchups, the Brewers do have the advantage for Saturday and Sunday, but the Mets are favorable. But let's take a look at the comment section. Larry, these poor Yankees. Oh, I have sympathy as a co-host of a national show. Well, maybe I don't. Who knows? And Josh Rutter saying, Marchie, of course. You're welcome again, Josh. And Larry B again with the Brewers are on the terror right now. Absolutely.
Best team in the league, might I add.
Absolutely. And this leads me to round 4. Ricky, which pitching matchup this weekend will be the most exciting to watch?
Well, I think the series would have a lot more buzz if we had a Jacob Mizorowski, who's on the IL, or Freddie Peralta for the Brewers. But to me, when I look at the matchups this weekend, it's Friday, I think, that stands out because you've got Kodai Senga against Brandon Woodruff. Senga has ace-like stuff, But I would argue the ace of the Mets is the guy who went today, even though he took the loss. So it was David Peterson. David Peterson has showed more consistency than any other starter in this rotation. And you look at Senga, who's got the ghost fork. He's got nasty pitches, but he's also had a lot of bad command since he's come back. He's got like 13 walks in his last 4 starts. He's got to be better than that. That's how you get deep into these games, is you've got to be able to limit the walk, especially with a team like Milwaukee that's going to try to steal bases and take advantage of those extra outs. So Senga's got to work on that for sure. He hasn't been able really to get past 5 innings. The Mets desperately need him to do that, or at least get into the 6th, try to do something of that nature. Brandon Woodruff has been a really nice surprise. Remember, he's battled injuries the last couple of years. When the Brewers got to Game 7 of the NLCS years ago, he was one of those leading forces, and he has been excellent coming back. 3-0 to 2.22 ERA in 5 starts. He's been really giving the Brewers a lot of length. I think more length than what's been expected. He's gone 6 innings in 3 straight starts, and he's only allowed a total of 7 hits in his last 3 starts. So he has been absolutely on a tear. If the Brewers are going to really make that run in the postseason, you're talking about a big 3 of Mizorowski, Peralta, and Woodruff. If Woodruff is what he was a few years ago, the Brewers could be a World Series team. So to me, I'm looking at a guy who has aced up and needs to refine it against a dude that has been an ace-type pitcher in the past that is starting to find it again as the most intriguing matchup.
All right, thank you very much, Ricky. That was a great answer. And now we're going to go to see how Dan, our Wisconsin insider, feels will be the most exciting this weekend, as he's got an advantage, especially Sunday with their ace going up. Let's see what he thinks, folks.
Which pitching matchups will be the most exciting to watch? For me personally, I can't really pick one. I think they all bring their excitement. Like Woodruff versus Senga. I'll get to that in a minute. Henderson versus Montes. Logan Henderson has only started, I believe, 3 games as a rookie this year. I don't believe he'll even qualify as a rookie. It will still be a rookie next year, I believe. But he's just been stellar at all 3 of his outings so far. I know he had 2 earlier in the season, then got sent down for a long time, and just recently came back up. He was actually part of the reason Savale wanted to leave as well. Quinn Priester, since getting him from the Red Sox, has just been outstanding. I think he's won 10 or 11 consecutive games. Just been pitching super nicely. That's against Sean Manaea, who in 4 games has pitched pretty well already. But if I got to pick one, it's got to be Brandon Woodruff versus Kendai Senga. Woodruff owns a 2.28 ERA with a 184 ERA plus, a 0.635 whip, and 11.8 Ks per 9. Obviously, it's a limited sample size, about 5 starts for him, 5-6 starts since coming back from missing over a year and a half, including having multiple setbacks this year in the minors when trying to get back to the majors. But since he's came back, he even looks better to me now than even the season before he got hurt. And then Senga is the ace, 170 ERA plus, 1.24 whip, about 8.5 Ks per 9, and a 2.31 ERA in over 17 starts this year. It's pretty much an ace versus ace 2 matchup, and they start the series off with this matchup on Friday, so this has to be the most exciting matchup pitching-wise to watch. Brewers also bringing Henderson and Priester again for Brewers fans. That's going to be very, very interesting to watch as well. Henderson to see his development again in start 4. And then Quinn Priester to see if he could continue his hot streak. Came over as a no-name. Nobody knew who he was. Not thinking you're going to get much out of him to being, a top starter for the Brewers this year.
Really good job for a guy appearing from Spirit, eh?
Exactly. I was about to say, Dan's really bringing it despite him being remote and the situation that he's in. So I'd hate to be a judge when it comes to picking a winner between these two, but we have the final round here and now.
All right. It's the final thoughts. All right, folks. Who do you think won this face-off Dan does have one video left, and he does make a case on why you guys should choose him over Ricky, who's here with us currently live. Why do you think you should win, Ricky?
So I think I should win this matchup because, I mean, first off, we both agreed on the same pitching matchup. So that also, I think, benefits in that regard. But I would say I think you kind of look at it. Look, people think the Brewers got it, but the Mets, to me, it's a New York thing. You've got Soto, you've got Lindor, you have the intrigue of those guys where I think the Mets could actually win this series. I know that people really love what the Brewers are doing, but all it takes is Soto, Lindor, and those guys to get hot to figure out a way to win. And I think even though the Mets are New York baseball has been kind of taking a little bit of tailspin lately, I think that we've got the strong points that we've delivered here. I think given some of these key numbers, especially with Senga, and also getting into what Carlos Mendoza is actually looking for this team to do and dive into that. I love what Pat Murphy's doing. I love what the Brewers are doing. But to me, I actually think the Mets could pull a surprise here and win this series just because they're due. I mean, this is a team that just won 7 in a row a week ago. They didn't forget how to play baseball all of a sudden.
All right. Thank you very much, Ricky. And then we will have one final video from our Wisconsin insider. Let's see what he thinks. If he can make, he has the longest video out of 5. So he does probably make a good case. Hopefully he can grate some cheese while he does it, being a Packers fan and all.
This is a deciding factor right here on the final thoughts. It's a David versus Goliath matchup. You have the Brewers, which are the smallest marketed baseball. I'm not counting the A's. They play at Sacramento or something at like some minor league stadium or a college stadium or something. I don't really know what's going on in there. I don't even know if they have if they're just the Athletics. Are they Sacramento Athletics right now? Are they Oakland still? I don't know what's going on. But outside of them, Brewers have one of the smallest payrolls in baseball and the smallest market in baseball against the largest city in the United States, the largest market in baseball, and I believe the second highest payroll in baseball, the Mets. This is a David versus Goliath matchup completely. The Brewers over the last 60 games are 44-16, been on an absolute tear, especially the way they started the season off against the Yankees. You would not think that the Brewers were going to be anywhere close to what they are right now. And they have the best record in baseball by about 2-3 games, best record in the National League by 4. And they're pulling away. It's not like teams are catching up. The Brewers are actually pulling away. You have a lineup that's full of a bunch of no-names. You got Andrew Vaughn, a guy who was struggling in AAA. White Sox just said, hey, we'll give you this for Aaron Savale because he wants out once Mizorowski took his spot in the rotation. Andrew Vaughn stayed at AAA for a little bit, came up on absolute fire. You have Isaac Collins, a rookie who, didn't really think he was going to do much at all and has turned out great. You have Jory Ortiz, who, you could tell Pat Murphy was upset about around the All-Star break with how he was hitting. And he's came around and really played his part. Like I said, the Brewers really do small ball and pitching well. Bullpen from top to bottom has been stellar. Best closer in baseball, and Trevor McGill. You have Woodruff, who came back from injury, just dominating a year and a half out. And in his 5 starts, he doesn't even have his whip is 0.635, almost 12 Ks per 9 innings. Just lights out. You have Logan Henderson. Every single start he's made has been great, only 3 so far. Jacob Mizorowski came up dominating, absolutely dominating. He looked more impressive than Paul Skeens did in his first outings. You have Quinn Priester, a no-name. Nobody thought he was going to really last in the majors this year for the Brewers. They thought he was just going to be a holdover during injury times, and I think he's won 10-11 straight. You have Freddie Peralta, 13 wins on the season, leading the league. A bunch of no-names on offense outside of Yelich and Contreras. They lead the majors in infield hits. StatCast metrics measure them as the best base running team in the majors. Second in stolen bases. Brewers from top to bottom, pitching to offense, defense, and little things has just been the best, and that's why they have the best record in baseball. Again, 44-16 over the last 60 games. They've just been absolutely on fire. And and I can't see them losing more than one game. Maybe the Logan Henderson game, maybe the first one, because they got Senga the ace facing them in Milwaukee for the Mets. But I really think the Brewers could sweep this series at home against the Mets, and I wouldn't be surprised if they pull off the sweep.
All right. Thank you very much, Dan. One thing he's underestimating, I feel like, and Ricky will probably agree with me, is Brendan Ninamo has been a great first baseman for the New York Mets. He leads them in batting average right now. And this isn't an easy team for the Brewers to overlook. I know they're on a roll. I know they have great sausages in Milwaukee with Miller Bears, but they can't underestimate this Mets team. And they went all out and paid Juan Soto for a reason, for these big moments, for these big games, as if they're in a very tough National League East competition right now. What is your final thoughts, Ricky? I know you just said your final thoughts, but what is your last statement before the audience decides who won?
So for me, I don't think it's David versus Goliath. I think it's, to me, I know we were going to play big market, small market, all that stuff. I mean, these are two teams that have been pretty good. Like we mentioned, this is a wild card matchup from a year ago. Both these teams are supposed to be good. It's just they've taken different ways to do it. And Pat Murphy, I think, has done a really good job. But it's like you said, if Nimmo's going to hit, Pete Alonso, of course, goes back to a place he crushed it in the playoffs last year. Maybe he finds a way to get that spark going. And I think the issue right now is, like, I can't agree to Brewers sweep because I can't see the Mets losing 7 games in a row. They're too talented. They've got Soto. They've got Lindor. And even though they've struggled, look, they're only 2 games out of first place. And actually, compared to last year when the OMG Mets, they're actually 2 games better than they were last year. So it's just been one of those ebbs and flows. They had a rough June. I think they'll find their way back into it. But this is where, like, I think you said, Mad Dog, I think they've got a real opportunity if they can just get some positive momentum going. They made their changes. We'll see what else happens. I think this Met team is going to be different now compared to October, because I think eventually you will see Nolan McLean and you will see Brandon Sproat and you will see some of these younger pitchers get an opportunity that have been excellent in the minor leagues, McLean especially at AAA. So I don't know if the Brewers, I get they're the underdogs per se, but I think that's dismissing. Milwaukee has been a consistent contender over the last couple of years. That's why they might do it unconventionally, but that's why I think these two teams are more on par than just looking at payroll discrepancies. I think we're past that. I don't want to get into the whole cap stuff because I've argued that on this network for the last couple of weeks. But just because you don't spend payroll doesn't mean there's competitive balance is great. And that's what's all about baseball right now, is the competitive balance is pretty good.
Big factor going forward is they're going to talk a lot about a potential salary cap. Everything the MLB doesn't happen right now. Obviously, me and Teran cannot choose a winner, but we got one comment from Josh. I am going with Ricky. The Mets will squeak 2 out of 3. I do think that the Mets are going to get one. The Brewers' win streak is probably going to come to an end this weekend. But this is critical because not only the Mets right behind the Phillies and the Brewers are going to overtake the Cubs, who had a lot of all-stars such as Happ and Pete Crow Armstrong has had a breakout year this year, obviously, with the likes of Ohtani, who was expected in the National League. Obviously, the Yankees are recovering with Judge just getting back to the lineup, and the Red Sox are on a roll. And you got the AL Central, that's a joke, but the NL Central is very competitive. And you got the Miami Marlins sweeping the Yankees.
First time ever.
I know. There's a first for everything. Well, they did beat them in the World Series years back. But Josh had chosen, and the winner is, drum roll, please.
I don't know if you could hear it in the background, but I'm doing a drum roll.
Okay. It is.
Hurry, my fingers are getting tired.
All right. It is Ricky. You have won. Dan did do really good. He's very knowledgeable about his team. And I'm not just being biased because you're here, but the audience chose, and Josh's deciding vote counted. All right. How do you feel about this?
Well, I'd like to thank the IE Sports Radio Academy for this awesome award. But in all seriousness, this was a lot of fun. Thanks guys for having me. I think you guys have a good thing going with this show, and I think it's gonna be. I think what's great about this sport, as I mentioned, so many competitive balance series. The top 10 teams are like a few wins apart from each other. I think you're gonna get way more like this. But thanks guys for having me, and I'll gladly accept the victory, even though it might have been on a technicality that I'm here. But I'll take the victory anyway I can get it.
All right. Thank you so much, Ricky. Congratulations. Thank you for coming on very short notice where we struggled to find some insiders. And going forward, thank you very much, Ricky. Enjoy your night and catch the primetime preview this Friday, right? Any good stuff coming up before you sign off?
That's right. This Friday, 6 p.m. Eastern, Josh Ritter is going to join me. We'll do our top 5 baseball series of the weekend like we usually do, but a different wrinkle. We're actually going to be, because it's football preseason weekend, the first weekend, so you're going to hear from some insiders on the preseason because it's hard for me to tell you what to watch in preseason football when half the starters don't play. So our insiders are going to tell us what backups or what position groups we should watch for their teams in week 1. So I'm excited to see what our insiders have to say as we get ready for football season.
Thank you very much, Ricky. Have a good night.
You too, guys.
Yeah, congrats, Ricky.
All right. Here's one more comment before we get up. Josh Ritter's all excited. No wonder why he decided for Ricky, but Ricky did have a good night tonight. Dan, hats off to him. Dan did have a great night as well, especially spur of the moment where he couldn't make it live, obviously, but thank you very much, Dan, for your dedication. As our next face-offs is next week's a to be announced, to be determined, but 2 weeks, you're going to see me all amped, fresh off the inaugural episode, as we got a confirmed New York insider, whether Ricky will be back up if needed, but Joey Jets is going to make his face-off debut, coming through like Josh Ritter. Both are diehard Florida Panthers fan, but Joey's a Jets, Yankees, and Nets insider for us. He does a lot of work for IE Sports Radio. As I'm excited, Red Sox, Yankees, you can't get any bigger in baseball. And then we're going to move on to some football, too. We're going to try and get 2 matchups a week, starting at either end of August or right after Labor Day. We're going to try to get either 1 baseball, 1 NFL, or 2 NFL, because we have room for only 2. But what are your thoughts before we sign off, Teran?
Well, I mean, first and foremost, I will just say Dan did a fantastic job, even though the circumstances were just against him a little. I just felt that he was just on his A game. That being said, I think Ricky just had a little bit more in the tank and a little bit more punch to it. But looking forward to what we've got. It's great times for the show, and especially with football season on the horizon. And I can't wait to see what you and I have in store for the entire audience when it comes to Midweek Mania. I think it's going to be fun. It's going to be electric. Y'all got to tune in. Y'all got to definitely see what we have in store in terms of like our insiders going at one another, because we really are not just sports fans. We're passionate sports fans who know ball, who know everything about our teams and our sports and whatnot.
And you're going to debut in the flagship single sports show with our CEO, Larry B., right? 3 and Out.
Yes, this weekend is going to be 3 and Out.
All right. Football
this
season.
Saturday at 7 a.m. Pacific time.
Ooh, 10 a.m. my time. But
yes,
thank you all, folks, for tuning in and getting over 163 viewers tonight. Thank you all so much. I can't wait for what the future is stored. And this is B. Mad Dog and Mr. Teran Rodriguez signing off.